does God do miracles today? That's often tied up with the issue of spiritual gifts. For example, whether people still have the gift of miracles, right? We read in 1 Corinthians 12 that God gave some people the gift of miracles. Does God still grant some people that gift today? And that's tied up, right, with this whole discussion of whether all the gifts continue today, right, called continuationism, or whether some of the gifts have passed away, typically called cessationism, which is a very complicated discussion in its own right. I think there are some good reasons to think that some of the gifts don't continue today. For example, the gift of apostleship. Most agree that we don't have apostles today. So the question is, does the gift of miracles continue today? I think that's a really hard question to answer, because one of the things about the gift of miracles doesn't introduce new revelation. You can do a miracle, but you're not saying when you do a miracle, well, here's new truth you need to believe in. Here's a new message from God. You're simply healing a person. So that it makes it more complicated to determine whether this gift exists. On the other hand, I want to say I lean towards the cessationist side of the question. In other words, I lean towards the view that people no longer have the gift of miracles. I could be wrong on that. But my experience in congregations, it's partly tied to my experience, but I have biblical reasons as well. But I haven't seen people who regularly have the gift of miracles. Now, many people claim to have the gift of miracles, but when we actually investigate carefully, and it's not wrong to investigate carefully, it's not wrong to be skeptical. We might think, well, if you're skeptical, you lack faith. But what I mean about being skeptical, I mean by that, it's not wrong to seek out, did this really happen? I mean, they did that in John 9, right? When Jesus healed the blind man, they wondered, is this really the guy? You know, people were saying, well, this isn't really the blind man. And the blind man said, yeah, it is I. I'm the person who was healed. And then they said, well, we're not really sure. Let's ask his parents. And they asked his parents. So it's not wrong to verify miracles. And when studies have been done, a lot of the alleged miracles that are said to have taken place proved to be not real, not authentic. That leads, though, to another question. I'm arguing, no, I'm not convinced people still have the gift of miracles today. Maybe they do, but I'm not convinced of that. But even if that's true, that doesn't mean God doesn't do miracles today. So even if people don't have the gift of miracles, that doesn't lead to the conclusion, and I don't believe that points to the truth that God doesn't do miracles. God can do miracles even if there aren't people who have the gift of miracles. So what do we mean by the gift of miracles? I mean, what does it look like? How do we describe it? Right? I mean, God can do miracles today. And he may do a miracle when you pray for someone, when you lay hands on someone. But that doesn't mean you necessarily have the gift of miracles, because I think the gift of miracles means that God regularly heals through you. I don't know how to make sense of this otherwise. I mean, what does it mean to have a gift if it's something that you only express once or twice? And I think in the other cases in the New Testament, we have a gift. This is something you regularly do. So the gift of miracles is a regular healings that take place through you. But you may pray for someone and not have a gift of miracles, and God may heal them. And I think miracles, by definition, are relatively rare. So does God do miracles today? I think he does. But such miracles are out of the ordinary. They're not the common everyday occurrence. But should we pray for miracles? Absolutely. Does God still do miracles? Yes, he does. So my point here is, whether you agree with me or not on whether the gift of miracles still exists today, but I want to say you can be a cessationist like I am, a kind of a cessationist. I would call myself a nuanced cessationist, because I don't think all the gifts have necessarily ended. But you can be a cessationist and still believe God does miracles. Just because you're a cessationist, it doesn't mean you don't think God does miraculous things today. And you can be a cessationist, as I am, and pray for God to do miracles. And he may answer that prayer with yes. I don't think, however, we should say we have a guarantee that God will do such a miracle. I don't think he promises that, but we're his children. And when we're in distress, we rightly ask him to act. And we ask him to do a miracle, and he just might. And he might bless us in that way.